The sirens weren't on when Officer Linda Caro rolled down Ashwood Lane, but the intent was loud enough. Her jaw was set, her K9 straining in the back, the late sun gilding the quiet cul-de-sac where 8-year-old Marcus Boyd cut across the grassy utility strip on his way home from school. His blue backpack swung with each step. He was humming something about trains, until the cruiser's tires whispered to a stop and the door hinges groaned. "This is private," Caro called, eyes flat, hand on her belt. "Off the right-of-way." Marcus blinked, unsure. "My mom showed me. It's the public path," he said, voice small. The toy train keychain clipped to his zipper clacked against the plastic. He reached for it. A tiny reflex, something to anchor him, just as Caro opened the rear door. The dog, Bear, leaned forward, quivering under the leash. Across the street, Mr. O'Neill, 80 if a day, white hair like floss, wobbled on a step stool, fiddling with the new doorbell camera his granddaughter had installed. He glanced over, saw the boy, brown, small, familiar, and the officer, white, rigid, unfamiliar, and said, "Officer, that boy walks there every day. That strip belongs to the city." Caro didn't look at him. "Dispatch, Unit 22 Juvenile Trespasser," she said into her mic with a smile Marcus couldn't decipher. Bear's nails clicked on the asphalt, a staccato that made his heart kick. "Please," Marcus whispered. "I'm just going home." "Control the situation," Caro murmured, tension humming through the leash. The sound Marcus made wasn't a word so much as a torn thing. Fabric shredded. He curled, protecting his face. Mr. O'Neill's phone trembled in his hand as he tapped to record. 2 doors down, a teenager stepped onto a porch, thumb already sliding to video. 2 more neighbors emerged, white faces and black faces and brown, everyone holding a lens. 3 blocks away, Dr. Eva Boyd, white lab coat still over scrubs, blonde hair scraped into a no-nonsense knot, was jogging back from her shift at St. Mercy's R when the first text buzzed her wrist. From Mr. O'Neill, now? She didn't read it so much as absorb it. Attached thumbnail, a still frame of a blue backpack on its side, a dog's teeth in a sleeve, and her body took off before her mind finished the sentence. Eva's military training, Airborne, not that anyone at St. Mercy knew, threaded through muscle memory. Breath in, breath out. Eyes up. Every second measured. By the time she turned onto Ashwood, the neighbors had multiplied and the dog was poised inches from Marcus's cheek. Caro's voice was a blade. "Stop resisting." Eva saw the whole board in one glance. The boy's small back, the dog's line of sight, the leash taut, the streetlight camera that had been broken for months, Mr. O'Neill's doorbell light pulsing, the teenager's hand shaking. She didn't shout. She didn't plead. She stepped into the frame and, with a voice honed years ago on a wind-scoured tarmac, snapped 3 commands in Dutch she'd learned from a NATO K9 handler during a joint rotation. F. Plats. Bleep. Bear hit the ground like a switch had flipped, body flat, muzzle off the fabric. Caro's face drained, her fingers slackening on the leash as the power dynamic shifted in an instant everyone felt. The teenager's phone dipped and jerked, catching the dog's submission and the officer's surprise in a single shaky arc. "Move that leash and you'll regret it," Eva said without looking away from Bear. It wasn't a threat. It was a forecast. Officer Tyler Mason, Caro's partner, had been hovering like a question mark. "Linda, maybe he's a kid," he started, voice thin. Body comes on. A new voice snapped. Sergeant Jamila Reyes slid from a second cruiser, Latina, crisp, every vowel in order. "Now." Caro hesitated, then tapped her chest. The small LED blinked on. Eva sank to her knees, hands gentle on Marcus's shoulders. "Buddy, I'm here," she murmured. "Tell me where it hurts." "My arm," he sobbed, hiccuping. "I just wanted to go home." "EMS now," Reyes told Mason. He swallowed and grabbed his radio. Mr. O'Neill shuffled closer, his doorbell still blinking like a small red eye. "It's all recording," he said, voice shaking with fury and age. Every second, the ambulance lights cut through the soft light like a scythe. In the back, Eva held Marcus's hand, counting aloud with him as the medic bandaged the bites, superficial, angry, inches from tender skin. "In for 4, out for 6, she coached. Like blowing on a hot cocoa. "Why'd she do that?" Marcus whispered. "Some people forget what their job is," Eva said. "We remember them." At St. Mercy's, Eva stripped off her lab coat and put on her mother's face and her war face. Nurse Chan, pediatric wing, documented every mark with clinical tenderness. "Hold still, little man. You're doing amazing." In the hallway, Sergeant Reyes handed Eva a card. "My cell," she said slowly. I'll file exactly what I saw. Body cams missing the first minute, Nurse Chan added, eyes shadowed. IT's logging a gap. Funny thing, Reyes muttered. Gaps that look like hands. Eva didn't sleep that night. She watched Mr. O'Neill's footage in 4K, frame by frame, blessed by the miracle of cheap clarity. Timestamp synchronized to dispatch logs. The dog's lunge. Caro posture. Mason's hesitation. The neighbors. The command in Dutch that turned a weapon into a dog again. She stitched it all, video, vitals, photos, into an email to Aurora King, civil rights attorney with a spine of tempered steel. Aurora answered on the first ring. I've seen enough, she said. I'm on my way. By noon, preservation letters were served to the Ashwood Police Department. Everything. Aurora told the city attorney on the phone with a voice like rain on tin. K-9 training logs, body cam raw files, radio traffic, internal memos, patrol assignments, emails mentioning compliance. If you breathe near a dog in this town, I want the carbon dioxide. Chief Hal Winters, a man who had cultivated the talent of sounding accountable while dodging it, held a press conference the next day. A regrettable misunderstanding, he intoned. Administrative leave pending investigation. His smile was the sort that curdled. The smear campaign slid in before dinner. Anonymous posts whispered that Eva had episodes from her service, that she'd escalated, that Marcus charged. The crop-zoomed video clipped off context like a bad barber. Aurora's text traced IP addresses. City Hall, the police department, and, with a flourish, the chief's own desktop. They're sloppy, she texted Eva. Sloppy is good. They weren't just sloppy. They were bold. A knock at Eva's door revealed a woman from CPS, clipboard, apologetic smile. Anonymous tip, she explained, eyes darting across the immaculate living room, the neat child's drawings on the fridge. Eva put Aurora on speaker and produced receipts, school records, after-visit summaries, a home so tidy it could teach a class. The CPS agent left because there was nothing to take. The next night, a patrol car tailed Eva all the way to the grocery store and back, staying just outside the line of complaint. Later, her front tire lay with a surgical slice in the rubber, a warning that pretended to be coincidence. A new security system puts eyes on every angle. Those eyes caught Officer Mark Mendez, off duty, ghosting across her porch at 2 a.m. The footage pinged to Aurora and Reyes before the man had cleared the azaleas. Enough, Reyes said, voice tight. I'm filing my own complaint. And I'm copying the state AG. Behind closed doors, the department circled wagons. Winters called Caro and Mason into his office and suggested, with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, that details were malleable. Clarify your statements, he said. Bulletproof them. His smile never reached his eyes. Mason cracked first. He met Reyes in a supply closet and whispered the thing he'd been holding like a hot coal. Chief told me to delete the first minute, he said, shaking, a confession recorded cleanly on Reyes's phone. Said it was a buffer. I saved a copy. It didn't feel right. It was more than didn't feel right. It was illegal. Aurora filed an emergency injunction. The judge, a former military lawyer, signed so fast the e-filing still smelled of electrons. Preserve everything, she wrote in stern Helvetica, and show cause why I shouldn't hold you in contempt. The department answered with a raid at dawn. No sirens. Heavy boots. A battering ram that didn't wait for consent. Compliance check. Someone barked as Marcus cried in his doorway, and Eva put her hands where everyone could see them, voice steady as she narrated for her phone. They found a single 9mm round under a couch cushion Eva vacuumed twice a week. She laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. Check your armory's inventory, she said. Watch the serial numbers line up. They cuffed her anyway. They said Marcus would go with CPS. They did not say how they slept. Neighbors filmed. Mr. O'Neill cried and swore like a teenager. Aurora arrived at the precinct in a navy suit that fit like armor and carved through the false charge with documentation so clean the judge could have shaved with it. Retaliatory, the judge said, furious. Release her, and send this entire file to the Attorney General. By afternoon, the courthouse steps were full. The crowd was mixed, black families who taught their kids scripts for traffic stops, white retirees who had never learned those scripts because they never needed them, veterans in pressed uniforms standing shoulder to shoulder. Someone started a chant that wasn't about volume so much as persistence. Eva walked out straight-backed. Cameras snapped like cicadas. Truth doesn't need volume, she said, voice clear. Just daylight. It got brighter. Reyes, who had been digging through certification records like a terrier, found the K-9 paperwork ticking down the page to a hard stop months earlier. The bear should never have been deployed. She also found an internal memo signed by Winters 3 weeks before the incident. Aggressive compliance measures. Focused presence in problem corridors. Handwritten note in the margin. Use K9 to establish compliance. Residents will learn. A phrase had been scratched out after the word repeat, but the remnants spelled what everyone already knew. They meant families. She met Aurora at a diner at 6 a.m., slid the manila envelope across a Formica table, and said he put it in writing. They took it to court. Judge Marisol Pena filled the bench with a steady gravity that made everyone sit taller. The big screen flickered alive with Mr. O'Neill's doorbell video. Marcus walking, Caro stalking, fabric tearing, Bear dropping on a word he was trained to understand. The crowd in the gallery sucked air as one when the dog lunged. Then the GIS map of Ashwood's utility easement, public, recorded, decades old. Then Bear's expired card. Then the memo. Then Mason's recorded confession. Then a garage audio file Reyes had captured herself, where Caro cornered Mason between a Crown Vic and an oil stain and said, voice thick with contempt, make it stick. The kid, the mom, both. Or accidents happen. In the shadows, Reyes's camera lens reflected a small, cold light. Mason couldn't hold it anymore. He stood, tears unself-conscious. It's true, he said. We did this. The chief told us to make an example. I'm sorry. Caro stared straight ahead, jaw at war with gravity. Winters pretended to be a statue and failed. In 3 decades, Judge Pena said finally, voice low and lethal, I have not seen such a calculated abuse. She ordered Caro remanded on tampering and intimidation. She suspended Winters pending a state inquiry. She referred the raid to the AG. The bailiff's cuffs clicked like period marks. It should have ended there. It didn't. Justice doesn't stop with relief. The city council chamber filled to its seams a week later. Councilwoman Lila Brooks, gray bob, absolute spine, introduced Ordinance 2417, civilian oversight with subpoena power, mandatory body cam compliance with independent audits, external K9 certification, and an explicit ban on K9 deployment against minors. Quarterly public hearings. Consent decree oversight. Funding carved from the department's PR budget into legal aid and after-school programs. The vote wasn't close. 9-1. And then Aurora stood with a settlement document that did more than move money. The largest share went to establish the Marcus Center, safe routes, community watch training without vigilantism, scholarships for kids who thought law was for other families. Bear retired to a sanctuary in the hills where he could chase balls and forget commands. Reyes was promoted. The officers who had looked away were reassigned to places where they could do less harm while they learned how to do better. On a bright morning in June, Eva and Marcus walked to the spot where everything had broken and been rebuilt. A new arch curved over the widened path, Marcus Way. Solar bollards winked like small planets. Emergency call boxes stood every 100 feet. Cherry trees offered shade and a reminder that some things bloom after being cut back. Neighbors gathered with cookies and clipboards and folding chairs. Mr. O'Neill wore a tie he'd saved for funerals and births. Feels like both, he said, eyes watery. Veterans stood at ease. Kids from the middle school jazz band tried their hand at this little light of mine and weren't half bad. Councilwoman Brooks handed giant scissors to Marcus. Want to help? She asked. He looked at his mother. Eva nodded. Together they cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered. Someone cried. It might have been Mr. O'Neill. It might have been everyone. After, as people drifted down the path testing out the way their feet sounded on new concrete, a woman in an expensive suit lingered near the periphery. Her hair was the exact brown that costs $300 and 3 hours. She stepped toward Eva, smiling tight. I'm with the state's attorney's office, she said. Off the record, I'll be looking at Winters. But this goes beyond one man. You know that. Eva looked past her to the sign, to her son shaking a cherry branch so petals rained like snow, to Reyes talking with the jazz band drummer about summer jobs. I do, she said. So should you. The woman nodded once. Keep your notes. They're going to matter. Eva kept them. She kept everything. She used it, and she set some things down. Months later, the Marcus Center's walls held art that made people stop and tilt their heads. The consent decree compliance reports came back not just adequate, but exemplary. Officers learned to stand with their hands unclenched. The department learned its budget could buy trust faster than tanks. Winters resigned with a statement that read like smoke. Caro took a plea and learned that a uniform does not make you strong. Mason testified again and found that truth is heavy until you carry it. On a slow Saturday morning, Marcus tugged Eva's hand. Can we walk the long way? He asked. Always, she said. They passed the place where a scar had once been a wound. A cardinal flashed red across a branch, scolding them for being too close to its nest. Mr. O'Neill waved from his porch, his doorbell camera blinking not like a warning, but like a neighbor keeping watch the way neighbors should, on each other's behalf, not backs. Ashwood Lane hummed with traffic and above it, something quiet and necessary humming too. Not perfection, not even peace, exactly. The sound of a community that had learned to check itself in the mirror and not look away. Eva glanced at Marcus, at the way he swung his backpack without flinching now. She thought of a judge's voice, a memo's ink, a dog on its belly, a boy's hand in hers. She thought of all the people who had lifted, documented, testified, shown up, shut up, shouted when appropriate, and put their bodies where their principles lived. Truth didn't need to be loud. It just needed daylight, and enough hands to hold open the blinds. Race you to the cherry tree, Marcus said. You'll win, she warned. I know, he grinned, and took off, blue backpack with a bright flag on the safe path named for him, in a town that had learned his name.